were getting like, they had to connect, right? So I was getting local wholesale, I was doubling my money. Which is what the wholesaling game is like. There's a levels to real estate. Wholesaling is a great level of real estate, but it ain't the big boy level. It's not the end-all be-all. It's where you start to get to the next level. So I'm just basically wholesaling, getting wholesales as a little 15-year-old, 16-year-old drug dealer. And actually how I started, how I got my first drugs of my own, was that my mentor, 15, and I was always standing around the corner, and this one guy killed, about like 30-something. He was like, what you doing out here? He's like, you ain't rich. I'm like, yes I am. I'm trying to get this money. He's like, all right. He's like, look, you get caught, I don't want no employee to minor charge. I'm like, nah, I don't tell. He's like, look, what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna walk over to this house, I'm gonna give you this pack. You gonna walk it around the corner. You get caught, you ain't get it from me. You walk around the corner safely, I'm gonna give you $500,000. Deal. I got my first work by simply just walking work. And he would just piece me off. He didn't have to do it. He was doing it to try to put me on and look out for me. I was told I was trying to get money. I had a burning desire to not be broke. And when you're walking in my town at that time, I didn't want to be a drug dealer. Although my mom sold drugs, my stepdad sold drugs, my grandfather sold drugs, so it was all in front of me. But when you're walking through my town at that time, at 15 years old, and everywhere you go, someone's asking you, hey, you got something? You got something? You got something? I'm like, damn, I'm gonna make $300 today. I'm hungry as hell right now. So I'm like, you know what? All I want to make is 100 a day. I don't want to be a drug dealer. I just want to sell 5 bags a day, 5 20s a day, 100 a day. I'm cool. That's more than my stepdad made working at the county recycling. And then 100 a day became 300 a day, became 500 a day, became $1,000 a day. And that's where all that kicked in. But the point of this part of the story is, so that same mentor of mine, Keel, was his name. So I would start getting work, but everybody else was making more money because they were going to the Connect. So I asked one of the guys, his name was Sherwin. I asked Sherwin, who we call Winnie Win, who's now actually doing 25 years of life in prison because he murdered somebody. But at that time, he was 16, 17 years old. And I asked Sherwin, I said, hey bro, where can I get the Connect at? Where do I go? Where do I go? He's like, yo man, you're gonna have to find your own Connect. I can't give you mine. He said, you better go to Harlem. That's all I needed to know, was that drugs were sold in Harlem. At 16 years old. At 16 years old, I took a train from Somerville, New Jersey to New York Penn Station. I got out of New York Penn Station and asked a cab driver to take me to Harlem. The cab driver said, you don't want to take a cab, it's going to be too much money. Take the 1 to 9 train, get off on 137th Street. Got on the 1 to 9 train, got on 137th, got out. There's a bunch of Dominicans down a whole Broadway from 137th to 145th, all selling coke like an open market in the streets. And I went to the first guy that I had. I asked him for one of those soda cans that twist off at the bottom with the stash of drugs in. I was looking for one of those. He said, oh, you want something? I got you. I got my first 7 grams of coke from a Dominican Connect in Harlem. And while I'm walking down the block in Harlem, just looking around, I'm 16, I'm amazed. Like, what the hell? You're selling cocaine openly in New York City. Like, I mean, openly. Hey, Bobby, I got it for you, 28 grand. Hey, Bobby, come here. No, you. It's like a flea market. I was mind blown. And so while I'm walking down the street at the 138th Street, and there was a guy sitting on a crate just like this, while everybody else is pedaling, they're aggressive, pulling you, right? And there's a guy sitting on a crate, nice and smooth, got a couple little gold chains on. He said, hey. I walk over to him, 16 years old. He handed me a business card that said Payo Hanito, the professionals, with his beeper number. So next time you come see me. Next time I paged him, that was my connect for the next 3 years. Point being, I had no idea how that trip was going to end up. I had no idea what was going to turn out. I'm talking 16 years old following this without knowing this. But I was bodacious. I'm going to find a connect. I was intentional about going to do it. And I was persistent about getting it done. And these are the traits that I've taken with me through my whole life. Now, let's switch off the drugs tip. Let's get back into real estate. So after I made millions in real estate, got out of real estate, purchased a restaurant and a nightclub, and had a record label, and all those kind of things, with my money. I got back into real estate, wanted to do something different. So what I did is I Googled the richest towns in New Jersey. I was like, you know what, I want to do something sexy with real estate, right? I don't want to just keep flipping houses, it's kind of boring to me. I want to do something sexy. $1 million listing guys and all that kind of stuff. I can do that. So I Googled richest towns in New Jersey. Alpine, New Jersey came up as number 1. And so I went and took 9 interviews in one day in Alpine. And that's where I landed a gig at Sotheby's Realty. I went and found a connect. I didn't need anybody to come to me. I didn't need any extra instructions. All I needed to know is what my burning desire was, what my big bodacious goal was, to be a celebrity realtor, a luxury realtor. And I was intentional about wanting to make it happen. I took 9 interviews and I persisted. Every trip, same thing with me. That's the formula. And with the persistence part, what it all boils down to is that, I outwork the work. I outwork the situation every time. Every situation I outwork it, don't matter. And it started back when I was 13 years old. I was saying this story earlier. I had a cousin named Michael McLeod. I still have a cousin. He's still here. I have a cousin named Michael McLeod. He's 2 years older than me. But when you're young, 2 years older than you is like bigger, stronger, faster, right? When you're 9 and he 11, right? So Michael always beat me up. He always was faster than me. He's better at soccer, basketball, everything than me. One day, you play tag, you push somebody, you run, and you're juking them around, right? One day, probably I would say, I was probably 11 years old. Michael probably was 13. This is where this started. I swear to God, this is where my whole burning desire thing clicked in for me at 13 years old. One day in my apartment complex, Michael pushed me. And he started running around the car. Right? He's just juking me. And now he's going around the car game, like I'm hiding behind the car. And at 13, I said, I was tired. I was tired of him winning. I said, I'm going to run around the car and chase him until he quits or I pass out. I swear to God. I ran around, I didn't play the juking game. No, I'm going to chase you around this car in circles until you quit or I pass out. And I swear I was seeing blue, like my eyes, seeing blue in my eyes. I'm like, and I just kept chasing him. You know what happened? He said, all right, you got it. And I tagged him. And that day I was like, I ain't never giving up nothing. Nothing. I'm crazy. That's how I know I'll always win. I'm crazy. I'm nuts. I'm absolutely a freaking lunatic. When I started my Day with Jay tour, actually when I started speaking, the first time I ever spoke to an audience, right? I had spoken like twice